Dear colleagues, good afternoon. In this webinar about how to teach writing skill. This is Abdelmajid Ogorli, Coordinator of English Language in the National Center for Curricular Development, greeting you. And I introduce my colleagues in the studio, Ms. Ula Al-Mouai, English Language Supervisor, Tartus Directorate, and Teacher of English, Ms. Huda Ibrahim, Damascus Directorate, Ms. Abir Al-Hassan, English Language Teacher, Freelance Teacher, Ms. Najla Adbesi, English Language Teacher, Damascus Countryside Directorate, and Ms. Sana Ismail, English Language Teacher, Damascus Countryside Directorate. Dear colleagues, allow me to thank our director for this session, Mr. Manhal Nassour. Thank you so much, dear Mr. Manhal. And we also thank Mr. Mahmoud Hamid, the director of the manager of the platform. Ms. Sana is going to start this webinar telling us initials about how to teach writing for little kids. Please, Ms. Sana, the floor is yours.
At the beginning, we need to inform the kids that we have different shapes to write.
Did you start the mic?
Okay. First of all, we have a standing line this way. This is a standing line. Okay?
Yeah.
We will repeat it. We have a standing line.
So the first shape, we need to teach the little kid that we have a standing line
this way.
Then
we have the second shape is a slanting line to the right.
Yes, a slanting line to the right.
The third shape is a slanting line to the left.
A slanting line to the left, yeah.
Now, the fourth shape is a curve to the left.
Okay.
This way. Now, the fifth shape is a curve to the right.
Yes.
This way. And the last shape is a sleeping line.
Good. This is the best. To sleep is the best.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So these are the main shapes that the kids need to learn at the beginning. Now, for example, if you want to write letter A, so we start with a slanting line to the left and slanting line to the right.
The opposite. Standing to the right and slanting to the left. Okay.
And a sleeping line in the middle. This is a letter.
Yes, letter A.
Letter B, a standing line. Two curves to the right. Two curves to the right. This way.
Good.
Now, C letter is only a curve to the left.
Yeah.
D. One standing line and a curve to the right.
Okay.
Okay, this way. Now, E is one standing line and three sleeping lines at the beginning, in the middle, at the bottom. Now, A, B, C, D, E, F. F, a standing line and two sleeping lines at the top and in the middle. Now, G, a curve to the left, small standing line and small sleeping line this way. So this is some examples, to shape or how to draw.
So it is very important to train the little kid how to use these shapes before we ask him to write letters.
Now, we have 3 steps in order to teach students how to write the words, or especially the kids. First of all, I can write down a certain word, for example, apple. I draw the children's attention to the way I write the word. This is the first step. Now, the next step, I can write down the same word with faint lines or with the spots, like this way.
To trace.
Okay, to trace in order to let them trace over these words. At the end, I encourage them to try to write on their own.
Okay. Will you please start the PowerPoint show before you sit down? Not that one. Yes, this one. Yeah, thank you. And can you take a slideshow, Mr. Manhal? Slideshow? From the beginning. Ms. Sana, from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
This is?
Yeah. And Mr. Manhal is going to help us move from one to the other slides when I say next. We are going to start with Ms. Ula, with the first slide, to tell us about our, after Ms. Sana told us about the shapes we need to tell the little kid at the beginning of writing. Now we can move to give an idea, a small idea. Actually, writing skill is a very big issue. We cannot compromise everything, but we can talk a little about something. We hope it's going to be beneficial. Can we see the PowerPoint, Mr. Manhal? You closed it.
Okay, so we need to put in mind and we need to remind the teachers that the first tips are the most important.
Yes.
So they should start step by step with the children, and children can absorb the information from the very beginning. So we should start, as Ms. Sana has just said, we should start
Mr.
with
Manhal,
the lines.
Next, can you move the slides?
With the lines to teach writing. So children are willing to learn new words, so we should start with the lines.
Again, next.
They need to play, to have fun while learning the lines first, and then they can move to writing the letters. So as Ms. Sana has just said, we have a standing line, we have slanting lines to the right, to the left.
Can we move next, Mr.
Manhal? Curve to the right, curve to the left, and sleeping line. These are things, these are initial movements to start with the kids.
So it is very important,
very
to
essential.
help, because little kids may not be able to hold the pen. So we need to teach this little kid how to hold the pen, and then how to draw lines.
To draw lines. So the first step is to draw lines.
Move, Mr. Manhal, to the next slide, please. Or Ms. Sana is going to move it. Again, no, not backward, but forward. Again, forward, not backward. You are moving backward, Mr. Manhal. Forward. So the first two slides is about what Ms. Sana has just
teaching
told us.
Students how to draw the lines, and then moving to the letters A, B, C, etc. After that, we can start the steps, follow the steps. Step one, like exactly as she has said.
Just let me help Mr.
Okay.
Manhal.
Okay, so the first step is to let children watch you writing words, write down the words, and the students watching you writing the words. After that, you can draw with spots, or we can have a faint line for the students to follow the lines. After that, the final step is to ask students to start writing. And of course, to start with, we are talking about letters, to start writing the letters. So 3 steps. You write first, we are talking to the teachers, write first, and then have dots or faint lines to follow. After that, you can ask students or children to write the letters. After these steps, we can start with basic skills. The first skill, and the one we have been talking about, is to teach letters.
Yeah, so we start after giving the shapes of the way to form the letters. We start teaching them letters.
Teaching letters.
Fundamentals.
Fundamental of letters, what a letter is, what each letter is called, and how it sounds. This is where you should begin if you want to teach literacy effectively.
We need to teach them the name, and the sound.
Exactly.
What it is called and how it is sound.
And regardless of age level or language, literacy must begin with understanding letters. So letters is the first key, let's say, the first step to start with.
Yeah. So letter A, the name is A, but the sound is A. Next, Mr. Manhal, please, can you move it? Or should we help you?
So again, we are still with the basic skills and with teaching letters. The things we should be working on is that we have to teach students.
Can you help just move to the following one?
We should teach students how to recognize the different shapes. So letters have different shapes, and they will need to be able easily to differentiate between letters which look the same and sound the same. We have letters that, for example, D and B, they somehow look the same, so they should be able to differentiate between B and D, for example. And they have to be able to recognize size variation. We have capital letters and lowercase letters.
Yeah, of course.
These are the steps. These are the basics. Directionality is another important skill. We mean what is the direction of the letter. They have to be familiar with the direction of the letter. And the last point is spacing, and this is very important point to put in mind. Kids or children or students need to be able to have a space, first of all, between one letter and the other.
This is something very important.
Very important, because sometimes, you know, in the exam, we have papers that are clustered, let's say, cluttered with words and stuck to. We can see that few words seem like they are one sentence. Or
we need to put barriers between the spaces, so that
spaces is very important.
You can read the words.
You can understand.
Not only letters.
Exactly. Letters, sentences, paragraphs. We need space. They need to recognize spaces between words and sentences.
So it's important that the children are learning the appropriate letter sounds right from the beginning, or they will end up confused when they are beginning to decode words.
Exactly. So this is about the basic skills and about teaching letters. Now we can move to...
We move to Ms. Huda to tell us about the second step, which is teaching phonics.
Phonics is all about learning what sound letters make, how to identify those sounds, and how to work with them. Developing your students' understanding of phonics will be key to teaching them to read and write. So it's important just to teach them the pronunciation of the words, the sounds.
The sound of the word, of the letter.
Yeah. Teach your students to hear. They need to be able to listen to speech and recognize that those words are composed of individual sounds. Once they grasp the concept of those sounds, teach them to identify the sounds. For example, your students will need to be able to hear an A sound and know that it is written with an A, like in car, cat.
Yeah.
Say it's
so
A.
We need to teach the name of the sound and to make the student know. And for me, I think it's more important the sound than the name, because when the child wants to form a word, he needs to use the sounds. Can we move to the second slide, Mr. Mana? Yeah, okay. Now, after teaching phonics, we have a problem with the slideshow today.
Again, with teaching phonics, we need to identify sounds.
Yeah, the following one, please.
To identify
Thank you so
sounds.
much. Yeah. Miss Abir.
Okay. Now, once they are comfortable identifying sounds, you will also need to teach them how to manipulate sounds. Now they are forming their words. After they have learned about sound, there's the sounds. Now they are forming two sounds or more than two, forming words within words. They should be able to recognize when words rhyme, or when one word out of a set begins or ends with a different sound than the others. They should be able to think of their own examples as well. Now, then teach compound sounds. Here as well, you will need to explain that when certain letters appear together, it changes how they sound, such as T with H. We pronounce them or SH, CH, so on.
Sh or ch, we can say that, like in chair.
We have two ideas here. Either to teach all the sounds, then to move to words, or the teacher can start with some sounds to form words through these sounds. For example, cat.
Yes.
I may just teach that C is the name and the sound is K. K. A and the sound is A. T.
Yes.
Then I put K. A. T. K. A. T. And some teachers may put pictures of the letters, and they put the C far from the others and pronounce it separately K, then A in the middle, then she or he can make them close to each other and say K at cat. So in the end, and this can be associated with the picture. We can move to the second slide, Mr. Manhal, with Miss Sana. Again, please, basic skills. After teaching the sounds, we move to teaching
the forming of words.
Okay.
Now, once your students have a solid grasp of letters and their associated sounds, you can move on to using those letters and sounds to form a word. Now, read to them frequently at this stage, as well as writing lots of examples for them to look at. This will
this means to write the word and read it. Write the word and read it so that they can. And it's a good idea to separate the letters and then to join them together.
Yes, this will give them opportunities to see how words are formed. Now, an important part of teaching word formation is teaching your students the difference between vowels and consonants. This is very important.
Yes.
Steps. Yes. Now teach them which letters.
Can a word without any vowel be able to be pronounced?
No, I don't think so. We should use both of them, the vowels and the consonant. Yes. Now teach them which letters are which, and explain the necessity of vowels within a word. Teach the basic principles regarding where is a word vowel can go. Now, for example, it's very rare for the only vowel in a word to go at the very end of the word, but quite common to have the second letter or sound of a word be a vowel.
Yeah, of course, this is rare, not impossible. Go, for example, has a vowel in the end, but when we say stop, it's
just one vowel.
One vowel, Can we move to the following slide? Miss Najla.
Yes.
Understand sentence structure.
Yes, now we are going to move to understand sentence structure. Your students will need to learn and understand sentence structure once they have mastered forming words. So forming words is the first step. Then we are going to teach them about sentence structure. Sentence structure is the order in which words or parts of speech go, the sequences in which they are used. So as we know, we have to start with the subject, then the verb, object, etc. We have to teach the kids or the students how to form a sentence. Understanding sentence structure will be necessary if they are to form written sentences which sound correct. Often people will have difficulty writing naturally like this, even if they speak correctly. So speaking may be less difficult than forming or
but writing will help them learn listening and learn speaking as well.
So your students should learn how to identify nouns, teach them what a noun is and where it usually goes in a sentence. The easiest way to explain it will likely be the tried and true person, place, things, or ideas.
So after we have taught the children the shapes, we told them the letters, the sonics, the sounds. We came to forming words. Now we move to the structure. Of course, the structure has a noun, has a verb, has an adjective. So we teach them the meaning of noun. The noun can be a proper noun, name of a person, can be a place, can be a thing, etc.
Idea, yes.
An idea, yes. Miss Ula, can you continue, please?
We are still with understanding sentence structure. And things they need to be able to identify the verb, and we can teach them the difference between action words and state verbs.
It is important.
It's very important to differentiate that action verbs are things that need to be acted.
We need effort to achieve.
Exactly, like run, eat, study, etc. And state verbs, things that don't need, like mentally, they are mental verbs like have or love, miss, leave, things like that.
See, hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they need to differentiate.
They happen without doing anything, without making any effort.
Exactly.
But when you need to do something to achieve the verb, it's active verb.
Okay, and so you can have them act out different verbs in order to solidify the concept in their mind, to understand the meaning of a verb. For example, stand up. They know the meaning of standing.
Can act,
exactly.
Yeah. Acting the verb is a very good idea so that this will be solid in their minds. Yeah.
And they need to be able to recognize the order or where verbs go, where they should be placed. For example, after the subject and things like that. Students again need to be able to identify adjectives as well. We need to explain the adjectives that they describe other words, describe nouns, and we need to have them after the verbs, the auxiliary verb, and before the noun. Teach them where these words go in the sentence and how they attach to other words.
So the simple idea for an adjective, it comes either before the noun or after verb to be. Before the noun or after verb to be. Can we move to the following slide, Mr. Manhal? Huda's turn, please teach proper grammar. So grammar is integrated in writing. We need to teach grammar while we are teaching writing. Please.
Exactly. Teaching proper grammar will be absolutely essential to your students learning to write sentences which can be understood and sound natural. Using parts of speech together is an important concept in grammar. Your students should develop an understanding of how nouns, verbs, and adjectives interact and how they fit together. Where these words go in a sentence and when they must be preceded or followed by another is also important to understand.
Yes, thank you. So parts of speech are the noun, the verb, the adjective, the adverb. We need to teach them what are these things and where they go in a sentence. The noun goes first, then the verb. If we have an adjective that describes the noun, it comes before the noun or after verb to be. And we teach them this grammar. The adverb usually describes a verb. The adjective describes a noun. Can we move, Mr. Manhal, to the next slide with Miss Abir?
Yeah. Now here we are going to talk about tense.
Tense, past, present, and future.
Future. It's a key concept of understanding how to form proper sentences. Your students should learn and practice creating sentences which take place in the past, present, and future. This will teach them how words must be changed in order to indicate time. This is a complex skill and is often not truly mastered until much later.
Yeah, so we need time until they master this, but we are talking about a process. So, of course, this is not a one-day activity.
Of course not.
This is a process, but we summarized it so that we move with the kid from the shapes,
the very beginning,
then sounds, letters, and forming the word, forming a sentence, parts of speech, how we join them with each other. Then we move to the tense, and we teach them the tenses, while not in the same session,
of course.
But we are giving
and not even in the same level. It can be in different levels, and this is something very important for the teachers to put in mind.
It is very important to tell our teachers that until the child didn't pass grade 4, no grammar needed.
No grammar.
Teach it as it is without talking about grammar. Grammar comes after grade 4.
They know the grammar by context.
Yes,
grammar they know how to form sentences, but they don't really know that.
It's very important to learn the grammar in context more than to learn it by heart. So when I ask a little kid, what would you like to have? What would you like to do? Or what is your name? I don't need to explain this simple present. I can teach him to ask using this. What is this? This is a pencil. What is that? That is a window, for example. So I don't need to explain grammar.
To give the rule.
We teach the language as it is, then we move.
Yeah, this helps them to use this in their
real life. Yes. Yeah, this is what we want to reach. We don't want to teach grammar for grammar
and the rules.
We don't want to teach English to solve the exam paper.
Exactly.
We need to teach English,
the language,
to use it for communication. So the aim. This is why we always say the textbook is not everything. It's one tool that helps the teacher to teach the language. The teacher can bring worksheets, can bring audios, videos, anything, but we have a criteria, we have a standard to follow. For example, every teacher needs to know that the standard, the criteria for grade 1, to be able, at the end of the year, academic year, to know the sounds, the letters, and to count from 1 to 10, for example.
These are the targets.
This is the criteria. Every student must, at the end of grade 1, be able to do this. The way to make this student be able, I may teach my students away from the textbook.
Of course.
I'm not saying don't teach the textbook, but it is the criteria.
We are talking about
Use
the way.
your way. Use your way to reach this. So for me, as a parent or as someone to see the result, if this person at the end of grade 1 is able to know the sounds, capital letters, small letters, and some numbers.
Mission accomplished.
Yes, that's it. But continue if you would like.
Now, conjugation and declension are other important...
Before, Mr. Mann, go back, please, go back.
These are important skills. Now, conjugation is how verbs change depending on how they interact with the other words in the sentence. For example, in English, we say, I jump, but we also say, she jumped in the past.
Yes, so we add ed if it is regular, or we use the irregular form of the verb. We conjugate. We change from simple present to simple past.
And nouns can go together through a similar process called declension, but it is non-extant in English.
Yeah, we don't have this in English, but we mentioned it because we are talking about writing as a whole, in general, for all languages. Some languages can have declension. We mean like conjugation with verbs, declension goes with nouns. Next slide now, Mr. Manhal, please. Ms. Sana.
Okay. Don't forget punctuation.
Yeah, this is very important.
Yes.
Punctuation is very important.
Yes. A difficult skill to master the use of proper punctuation will be vital to creating well-constructed sentences. Later in life, proper punctuation is often seen as a mark of intelligence and education. So building your student skills in this area will be very important for opening up opportunities for them in the future. Now, so using punctuation plays a very important role to give the intended meaning to the sentence. If we use a wrong punctuation mark or a wrong placement of a certain punctuation mark, it will convert the meaning of the sentence, or maybe it may convert it to nonsense.
You remind me with two sentences with one comma. Let's eat, comma, grandma, and let's eat grandma without comma.
Yes.
With
so
comma,
the meaning changed completely.
We are going to eat their grandma.
With the comma, the meaning is I'm asking my grandma to eat with me. Or without comma, I'm asking someone to eat her.
And the listener will be
a huge difference
when we use them wrongly.
Yeah, of course. And of course, punctuation is not enough. This slide is not enough to teach punctuation.
Of course not.
The teacher has ways to teach punctuation. The simplest one, to tell the student difference between comma and a full stop. And the main punctuation is to use the full stop and the question mark and the exclamation mark. These are followed with capital letter. The full stop, the exclamation mark, and the question mark. But the comma is not followed with capital, with a small letter. And we usually use the comma to take a breath. And when a student, when you are not sure to put a comma or not, to leave it is better, but not in our case for eating grandma. Can we move to the next slide, Mr. Types of writing, Ms. Najla?
Yes. Types of writing. There are many different types of writing which your students will need to learn about. Knowing how to recognize and reproduce different styles for different contexts will be very important later on in life.
Yeah. Can we move next, Mr. Manhal? So we have narrative writing.
Yes.
We have, let's talk about narrative writing.
Narrative writing. This is writing which conveys a story or is the form most often read for pleasure. It is commonly used as an exercise to increase literacy skills. Examples of narrative writing include novels, biographies, history, and newspaper articles. It is easily recognized by the format. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and so on.
Yeah, so it is a story telling the events, the sequence
for
of
pleasure,
events.
usually read
we
for
call
pleasure.
this happen.
Yes.
He was born in 2008.
After that,
then next year we use this sequence.
There will usually characters and events or dialogue in the narrative writing.
Can we move? Yes. Miss Ola.
Okay, we can continue with types of writing, but before saying that, I need to assure or make sure that a teacher put in mind that this is the last step, let's say, in writing. They have
this can be for grades 11 and 12.
Exactly, this is kind of academic writing, so they need to start again with letters, words, structure, grammar, and then we can finally move to these types of writing. We have persuasive, in addition to narrative writing, we have persuasive writing, for example, logical arguments, and we can find such kind of writings in job applications, editorials, and academic papers. Second type or third type, expository writing, and this kind explains, informs, or describes something. What you are reading now is an excellent. This is the one we are doing now. This is expository, and again we have something like newspaper articles or encyclopedias and reports. The other type is 5-paragraph essays. And this is usually used at university. When you are an English student, you write 5-paragraph essays. The 5-paragraph essays include an introduction, 3 bodies paragraph, and a conclusion.
We have argument in these paragraphs, and in the end, the conclusion summarizes.
Exactly, summarize or paraphrase the introduction, for example.
Yes, thank you. Can we move next, Mr. Manhal? Miss Huda.
Yes. Writing process. It will be important for children to learn that there is more to writing than just putting words on a page. Teaching pre, while, and post-writing skills will teach children to analyze writing as well as working to build their language skills.
Thank you. So, as we said when we taught about listening and reading and speaking, we have 3 stages.
We always have
pre,
stages.
we have while, and we have post. Mr. Manhal next. Pre-reading, Miss Abir.
Yeah. Now, pre-writing refers to things, tasks, preparations carried out before actual composing. So, this is about the idea, about the thing that they are going to write about. These tasks include brainstorming, collecting data, and outlining. In this stage, the most important thing is the flow of ideas, and it is not always necessary that students actually produce much, if any. Written work.
Yeah.
Now, outlines are an example of a pre-writing skill. Outlining what they intend to write will help learners work through logical processes. It will also teach them to think of elements of writing, different paragraphs of subtopics, as a unified whole rather than pieces simply placed next to each other.
Yeah, so when we outline, it means we put the elements of our composition.
The basis, let's say.
The basis, what we are going to talk about, we put elements, then we prepare so that we know from the beginning what is going to be in the end, not just to put words next to it. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Abir. Next, Mr. Manhal, Ms. Sana, post-writing. We jumped, I think, a slide while writing.
Okay, after we finish with the pre-writing, we reach to while writing. This is the stage of actual composing papers. Once the students have done all the preparations, writing can start. At this stage, students will write as planned and make use of all that data and ideas collected in pre-writing. Summarizing and paraphrasing can be used in this stage.
So after they're prepared, they put the outlines, they start the writing. They write, and then they can have a look, they can summarize, they can paraphrase what they have written. Next, Mr. Manhal, we move to Ms. Najla.
Yes.
Post-writing.
Rewriting.
Post-writing, after they have written, we come to correction, we come to editing, yeah.
Yes. Now, post-writing, once students finish writing, they need to proofread, edit, and revise their paper till they are satisfied with the final copy. Editing is an example of post-writing skill. Editing their own work as well as the work of others will build language skills. This will make your students more competent writers as well as increasing their confidence in their writing. If they know how to look for mistakes and correct them, they will be less restrained by fear of failure.
Yes. The most important thing for a student that the fear of failure. We need to give them this courage not to be afraid. Editing is something nice. Editing means to correct the mistakes. One can correct him, her mistakes or peer correction.
Yes.
Peer correction is a good idea. The student can see something new, can get benefit from it. Mr. Manhal, if we move, final tips with Ms. Ola.
Okay, with the final tips, we have first build on earlier skills. We started with teaching students the letter, the words, the grammar, the spelling. So it's still important till now, even if they have passed that stage. It is very important, and they need to build on these earlier skills. When they were younger does not mean that those skills should be neglected now. No, they are important now, and we should build on them. So we should continue to build on and maintain skills like grammar, spelling, parts of speech, voice, tense, and writing style. They will keep their skills sharp and helping students who may have fallen through the cracks.
Yes.
The second one.
Just let me, before you say it, we have something sometimes. Let's say a student took the simple present tense in grade 6, but in grade 7 didn't take it. If the teacher brings a question about simple present, a student may say, we didn't take it. No, we took it, because the grammar is a package.
Interrelated.
So we need, even in the baccalaureate, we may not take all the tenses, but a student will be asked about all tenses. And the job of the teacher is to keep maintaining.
Exactly. Examples,
those
maybe
who
exercises.
dropped out needs to be brought back to grammar. Yeah.
The second one is encourage creativity. We know at the age, advanced age, let's say, many people will have reduced creativity. Or
yes,
capacity,
they get tired.
Exactly. So creative thinking skills, however, lead people to be better problem solvers and innovators. So such skills should be fostered in any way possible. Writing is one of the best opportunities for students to bring creativity into their academics. And a very important way is to encourage reading, because reading will lead to writing.
Right. Yes. And we need to encourage them to be creative, innovators, problem solvers. Following one, Mr. Manhal, Ms. Huda,
yes,
emphasize critical thinking. Critical thinking is very important so that these students don't accept anything you give them. They need to ask you about it and then to accept it.
Okay. During this time in their lives, children should be developing the skills necessary to prepare them for higher learning. This will ensure that they have the most opportunities possible. An absolutely necessary skill for higher education, as well as a vital life skill, is critical thinking. Encourage your students to really think about the things they are reading and writing. This will prepare them to do everything from analyzing news stories to participating fully in the political process.
So we do not want to form parrots, just to repeat what we are telling them, to be creative. The following one, Ms. Abir?
No. Now here, have your students ask questions about what they are reading, such as, who wrote this book? Why did they write it? Who did they write it for? What impact did the environment around them have on the text? There are many questions like these which can serve the information to eliminate information hidden within this the things they read. Now, have your students ask questions about their own writing, such as, why did I about their own writing? Now,
yes.
Why did I choose this voice? Why do I have the opinion I've expressed?
So here the meaning of voice is active or passive.
Or passive.
Yeah, not the sound.
Yes. Why is this something I care about? What would I rather be writing? These kinds of questions can lead your students to learn a lot about themselves, but it will also help them make more conscious decisions about the things they write.
Yes. So it's not only just putting words. Yeah. They need to be conscious. They need to ask themselves, why am I using this passive or active?
This helps them to think about what they are writing.
Yeah. And we can always see that reading is connected to writing. So they have to read and then they can follow.
Because we always say that it is contegration.
Exactly.
Reading and writing, speaking and listening are taught together. Yeah. And the more you read, the more you are able to write. The following slide, Mr. Yes, it's okay.
Which one? The last one.
Ms. Najla, would you like to talk about final tips to our students in grades 9 and 12 to write in the exam? We in the exam write just one paragraph. We indent.
To our students, when writing a paragraph in exams, we have many steps. First, indent, which means to leave a space of one word at the beginning of the paragraph.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the paragraph, we need to leave a space. It's not a big problem if he didn't leave, but when a student starts leaving a space, it means that he knows what he is doing. Yes. It's good.
Write a topic sentence which tells about the subject you want to write about.
So the first sentence should give the idea about the
this
task
means the
response.
Paragraph is going to be organized. You know, when you know the topic sentence, we know the body and the conclusion.
What are we going to read about?
Exactly.
The third step, use punctuation correctly since there are marks for punctuation.
Yeah, we have
because it is
it's kind of academic writing.
Yes. Yeah, it is important as you said, and in the exam we have 10 marks for the scientific section, and it is 13 marks for the literary section for punctuation. So the use of punctuation is very important.
Yes. The fourth step, make your students smooth and coherent.
Your sentences
smooth and coherent.
Yes.
So
logically organized, maybe.
Yeah, logically organized. Yes. And for me, I advise our students to be as simple as possible. Because
use short sentences. No need for long sentences, like the sentence for 2 lines.
Don't be too complicated or else.
Lose marks.
Yes.
Yeah. The fifth step, heed to the number of words you are asked to write so that you do not lose marks.
Yeah, some students say, should I count them? Yes,
50,
count them.
Yes, kind of, yes.
We do count them.
Count them. If the student is asked to write about 70 to 80, to be sure that they are 70. Because less than 70, he will lose marks.
Yes. The last step, write a conclusion. It means to sum up the ideas.
Yeah, this opposes the beginning. At the beginning, you write a sentence to tell about the idea you are going to talk about.
Yes.
And in the end, write a conclusion. Some sentences
this is
to
the
summarize.
Last impression, you know.
Yeah,
reflection to
next, Mr. Manhal, Ms. Sana.
Finished. Thank you.
So
thank you so much. But before we wrap up, Ms. Huda has prepared a video with her students, a short video, how to teach writing, pre, while, and post. Thank you so much, Ms. Huda. We are going to watch together the clip after Ms. Manhal has started it. Until it is started, if anyone has anything to give extra advice, he can't find it, Mr. Huda. Can you help him, please?
Okay, I think it's a process, and we should put that in mind, that it's a process. Some students are creative by nature, but other students, let's have it like a scientific process to follow the steps.
Start with something. It's working. Let's watch it, and we can discuss it after it if you like.
Which grade?
For 7th grade.
So it's grade 7.
Yes.
Hello, teacher. I want you to look at the board and look here. You are going to write a diary entry about last week. You are going to tell me what did you do last week. And you are going to use these verbs. Who can read the verbs? Yes, Fatma?
Listen, play, watch, visit, film, and study.
Thank you. So, what did you listen to last week? Who can tell me? Masa?
I listened to music.
Good. I listened to music. What else did you listen to? Yes, Nana?
I listened to my favorite singer, Nasir Zaytun.
Good. I listened to my favorite singer, Nasir Zaytun. What did you play? Yes, Noor?
I played basketball.
Good. What else did you play, Nana?
I played computer games.
Good. Okay, computer games. What did you watch?
So you are preparing now the students to have sentences to be used in the writing. And did you write them on the board?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Visit. Who did you visit last week? Anani?
Yeah.
I visited my grandparents.
Okay, grandparents. Good. Who else did you visit, Rama?
I visited my friends.
Thank you. Okay, phone. Who did you phone last week, Iman?
I found my best friend.
Good. I found my best friend. Who else did you phone? Yeah, Shahad?
I found my sister.
Okay, my sister. Study. What did you study last week? Yes, Sarah?
I studied English.
Good. What else did you study last week?
I studied Arabic.
Thank you. And now I want you to start writing the paragraph and you can use the phrase. Last week was interesting.
I wish the screen was clearer so that we see what you have written on the screen.
And study and so on. Okay? Start writing now. Yes?
Now they started writing. This is while writing. And your job is to go through the students so that you give help when needed. So the teacher, while they are writing, needs to go through the students so that if someone needs help, the teacher can give help.
Some new vocabulary.
So while they are writing, we summarize. The teacher gives the idea of writing, then makes brainstorming to elicit from the students what they can write about. Then the teacher writes these sentences on the board, phrases or words, sometimes vocabulary they can use. After they prepare for this in the pre-writing, the teacher asks the students to write. And after finishing...
Now I want you to change your papers with your partners.
Now we have peer correction. Peer correction, the students correct each other's papers.
Change, please.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Okay, try to correct mistakes for her if you find any mistakes.
But of course, in the end, we need the teacher's final correction because sometimes the students may not be able to correct everything
If you find a mistake, just
accurately.
correct them. Okay, thank you, guys. I will take your paragraphs and I will correct them for you in case there are any mistakes. You did a great job and thank you, guys. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, Mr. for your effort. We summarize before we wrap up. We start with little kids, then we move gradually until we reach the adults. With the beginners, we teach them the shapes, the shapes of the letters, and
the letters, the
letters and the sounds, then forming
the words,
afterwards the structure
of
sentence,
grammar,
proper grammar, and then we punctuation. Good parts of speech is included in the teaching of proper grammar. Then when we reach higher level, we go to academic writing, the kinds of writing. What did we have?
Narrative writing, persuasive writing,
expository writing and
Expository.
five
Five
paragraph
essays.
essays.
Right.
Five
Yes.
paragraph essay.
And usually, a student may ask us, if I wrote 2 paragraphs in the exam, is it accepted?
The first
yes.
one.
No, first,
The first
2
one.
paragraphs for the same topic. It's
Okay.
okay. Not 2 essays, not 2 paragraphs for different
Okay.
topics.
Okay.
So it's
If
one answer.
a student wrote 2 paragraphs for the same topic needed in the exam, it's okay. But usually, the habit that we just write 1 paragraph, we leave a space at the beginning, then we write a topic sentence, introduction sentence, body, then we have conclusion. Anyone has anything
just
to
one
add?
point, because till now we find teachers writing paragraphs for their students. They don't have give them the chance, not encourage them, don't give them the chance to give their ability or write in their own way. So we should always follow the stages. We are teaching students the words, sentences, and then they can, the paragraph is just sentences followed by each other and with linking words like however, so we should give them the chance to start writing, not stop writing for the students.
In addition to what you said, not only the teachers write paragraphs to the students buy sheets.
Sometimes this is
because
disastrous.
some people who are spoiling the whole operation of teaching writing try to show their muscles and they write.
And
ready-made.
They don't suit the level. Sometimes they don't suit the level of the students.
They use they want to show that they know something.
So I believe students have the ability, but they are not given the chance to write. They need, maybe first they will make mistakes, but in the end they will be able to do that.
Yes, Ms.
So
just
give I tried it with my students and they enjoyed it a lot. They wrote paragraphs.
Yes, they need to teach them how to fish. Don't give them fish.
Exactly.
When you teach them how to form a sentence, then it will be very easy.
Start with the steps. So letters,
when,
words,
when a student
sentences.
knows how to write, he will not be afraid. What if I didn't memorize the composition, which is going to come?
Be creative.
Yes. You want to say something?
Okay, for the first grade teachers, I just want to advise them. I highly suggested that the entire alphabet should be or can be available all the time, even if we are focusing on certain letters. Okay?
Yes,
you get the meaning? Yes.
So
even if we are focusing on certain letters in a certain day.
In the curriculum we have certain vowels, certain words, letters, but we need to have the whole alphabet.
I'm not a big fan of the letter of the week. We just teach them
the
a
whole
letter,
alphabet? Okay.
yes, a letter in a week, and they will forget all about the
so
other.
They can have the whole alphabet
letters.
in a certain place on the board or maybe in the classroom,
yes.
so they can take a look from
they
now
can
and
see them all the time on the board, around the board.
Yes, maybe. Our letter for today is this one, but we generally have the whole alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, finally, in the end, before I wrap up, I want to thank so much the hidden soldier who was behind having this platform, our boss, Dr. Darim Tadba.
Of course. Thank you.
And a big thank to Mr. Mahmoud Hamid, the manager of the platform, and Mr. Manhal Nassour, the director of this session, and Ms. Ula Al-Mu'i,
thank you for the
my colleague who participated in this session, supervisor of English in Tartus Directorate, Ms. Huda Ibrahim, teacher of English, Damascus Directorate, Ms. Abir Hassan, English teacher, Ms. Sana Ismail, English teacher, and Ms. Najla Adbesi, our new colleague in this platform. And this is me, Abdul Majid Oghurli, coordinator of English language. Thank you so much. Hope you have enjoyed what we have presented. Till the next seminar, be safe and sound. Thank you and bye-bye.